Recording.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Doors. We're the developers of our own opportunities, reinventing success. I am one of your co-hosts, Zachary Yachts, alongside with my buddy
Nicholas Sternlove.
And today we're going to open some doors. So, Nicholas, brother, what is up? How are you, man?
Yeah, you literally just asked me this question. I was like, we gotta talk about this on the podcast, man. We gotta talk about this. I'm doing good, man. Man, just honestly trying to schedule some things out. Like, so I'm still in real estate school and I'm going through that, and it's a lot of information to go through and to try to remember all that and go through that and continue to really put myself in a place where I can get my license as fast as I can and do all that. It's a lot of work and attention. So I'm after this podcast, I'm gonna be jumping into that. But other than that, just honestly taking care of my pup, my little dog Ace.
Yeah, so why don't you I don't think we've been on a podcast since you actually got Ace. Why don't you tell them the story of kind of how you got him, and then everything that transpired up until you getting back to Georgia.
Goodness gracious. Okay. So I've been wanting a dog, right? I just think that it's really great to like have someone to like keep you not lonely and like not be judgmental. And so I was doing door-to-door pest control sales this summer, as you guys know, because I continue to talk about it. And you guys heard about my journey or seen my journey as I posted about or talked about it. And what's funny is I was talking about this all summer to people. One of my roommates had a dog, and my brother has a husky. My dad has an Alaskan Malamute. And then we have friends that basically have a whole bunch more huskies.
And I have two of them,
including Zach. And I was knocking in this neighborhood one day, and I met this guy named Isaac. He was pretty cool, and I knocked on his door, and we just talked. He's like, yeah, my dad might want pest control. He's been seeing some things. I was like, all right, I'll come back later, no problem. Because his dad wasn't there. So I come back later, and they have this giant metal door in the front, and they had like it said, don't knock on the door, ring doorbell, ring this bell. It's this giant metal bell. I was like, okay. So I ring it, and they're like, close the door. I'm like, what do you mean, the front door? Like this giant metal door? She's like, close the door. So I close this metal door, and they open it, and then start talking. I'm like questioning why they had me do this, right? And then a husky pulls up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you have a husky? That's super cool. I start talking about how my family has huskies and all my friends have huskies. And then like 1 second later, all these little I'm talking 8 baby huskies just pull up out of nowhere. I'm like, this is the moment. This is the moment. And I literally sat there and I was like, can I hold one? And then they handed me my dog, which is now Ace. And I was like, can I buy him? And they're like, yeah. They're like, so now imagine someone coming to your door to sell pest control and them buying a dog from you. But I ended up getting him, and he was literally just 2.5 months old. This is itty bitty puppy. He's doubled in size almost twice now. So, and he's almost 4 months. He'll be 4 months in 2 weeks. And oh my gosh, it's been a wild ride since I picked him up. I've had my car break down 3 times. Once on the way back from Texas, once while I was here on. You ever get setbacks in life and like you just like you question, damn, like this opportunity comes. You're like so excited to go have that opportunity, and then you literally just the whole world crashes down around you. Yep. Like there's this thing I've been doing lately. It's if something's out of my control, I'm just like, it is what it is, or like plot twist, move on, and like that helps a lot. But like, damn, bro, I'm in the process of becoming a real estate agent with a company called Virtual Property Realties, and as I know the owner and one of the head team leaders of the company, because I served them as a waiter at the restaurant I worked at. and they're holding this giant event. It was right when I got back. I was like, he's like, come eat, everyone, come have a good time. I was like so excited to go do this. And my car starts overheating on the back. I'm like, no, no, don't do this to me, no. And I was
It's
in,
always that worst. It's always
oh,
the worst timing, man. But
and
all right, continue. Please
no,
continue.
no,
Tell
no,
them
no,
about
no.
the shop. The shop.
The shop?
Yes.
What shop?
How you were coming back from Texas, and
Oh, dude, yeah.
pretty much your whole engine blew up.
No,
And
so it didn't blow up, but basically, like, so I was maybe 4 hours in my 12-hour drive, right? And I have this little guy in the front seat, and I have a manual G35, Infiniti G35, and it was Texas heat. It was like 94 out, felt like 107, right? And it was stop and go traffic, and my thermostat broke. So basically, that just causes coolant in your engine. I'm not a car guy. I like cars, but my dad said this quote recently. He's like, damn man, you've had so many problems. You're gonna understand cars real well. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to because I mean I'm going through all this shit. But that happened. Luckily, I was not too far away from a hotel/mechanic shop, and it took me 3 hours to make sure that because my car engine would basically get too hot, and then it would not work, and I'd have to let it cool down and try to get to this, and then I got to this hotel after 3 hours, and it's hot as balls, and I'm just so worried about my dog getting heat exhaustion, and the hotel didn't have fucking animal friendly, so I had to like let my car cool down, and then literally I had an extra spare. I had spare keys on me, so I put the air conditioning on. I locked my car. I put a little sign that says he's in there with his favorite music playing with the air conditioning on. Don't worry. and then I had to sneak him in. And then the problem is that I had so much more shit that I had to bring in, just like some body wash and toothpaste and shit. And like even to this day, if I leave the room and he sees me to leave the room, he'll just be so visibly upset. I love that because we've started to form a really, really close-knit bond, and it's just amazing what that's done for my mental. But I had to sneak out and do all that, and then I at 6:30 a.m. I went to this car place. 7, talked to the guy, didn't get my car started to get worked on until 8:30 a.m. and I sat there until 6 p.m. and the guy was he's like dude, like it was like two parts, and it was a super easy thing, but they didn't have the part. They had to order the part, and they had to do all these different things, and he's like, dude, I'm so thankful you were so patient, and he ended up giving me military discount just because of that. And the moral of the story is like you can't control half the shit that goes on in your life, you know?
You can't.
So like you might as well accept it or just be like that is what it is and just control the things you can. And like visibly say it out loud, just be like it is what it is and fucking move on. Because I feel like stress, negativity just bogs you down and puts you in places that you can't even focus on the objectives that you have in front of you.
And I think honestly, Nick, like having, we call these no peace moments, but when you're in the midst of a no peace moment, having an internal mantra that you can go to, mine personally is even this too shall pass. I know I'm strong enough to overcome this obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll sit there and repeat that and repeat that and repeat that, to a point where it's like, all right, I got this. No matter what's coming at me, I got this. But I think it's really important to be able to know when you're starting to have one of those no peace moments, or when you're becoming depressed, or when you're getting stressed out. So just being able to really take a step back from yourself and observing your surroundings and your emotions and those feelings that are coming about. I think that's what's so cool about it.
Exactly. I got a question for you after you're done with this.
Go ahead.
Okay. What is your biggest no peace moment as of lately?
My biggest no peace moment as of lately. Let's see.
And like, what was the situation? How'd you deal with it? Like, blah, blah.
Okay,
And,
so
look, it doesn't have to be in a positive light either. It could have been like you got really angry and you just left it like that.
oh, cool, perfect. So I just recently got one of my my other huskies back, um, and really cool story. I'll share that with y'all maybe one of these days. But I just got him back. So when you're bringing a new animal, especially a big animal, into your pack, there's always, discrepancies. There's always, someone who's trying to be the alpha in the situation. And I remember, man, like bringing him in, like it was fine the first few days. Like it was like my
And
bigger boy Loki.
some context real quick too. Two of the dogs, the dog that he got and one of the dogs he already had, have been together before.
Yes. And then my ex had him, and then she recently just moved across the country, so I got him back. But it was like one of those moments where I was like, okay, we're doing so well. We're doing so well together. Like I was able to leave the cage open, like they're in there playing together. It's all good. And this is one of the moments I learned a really valuable life lesson about being focused and staying focused, because I lost focus for 1 minute. I walked out, left that cage open, and as I came in, like I opened the door quick. So one of the dogs came out quick, and my big boy Loki just jumped on it, man. And as a dog parent, or you don't ever like to see your dogs get hurt. So immediately, man, it was like my body reacted. And I got in between them and I ripped them apart. And dude, I do a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work. So that switch, that anger feeling, that I used to be an angry kid. So I've got a lot of control over that switch now. But it just flipped. Dude. And I felt this rush of adrenaline, this rush of anger, dude. And I started fucking screaming and yelling and with just the perception that I had, and just the anger that I was displaying, like I made my dogs cower down. And that to me, dude, I took a step back from it after I got them cleaned up and everything. And I said, I don't like to get like that. Like, it's nice to know that I can still get like that, but I don't want to get like that. Like, even in that no peace moment, when that's the only thing that's coming out of me is rage because I'm so angry, I need to be able to tune that down, because that could potentially hurt someone. That could potentially get someone else hurt or get myself hurt. And it was one of those lessons, man, where it was just like I was trying to see the bigger picture of it, and it was focus. And so now I realize, like, no matter what I'm doing, like when you're dealing with animals, when you're dealing with people, when you're dealing with a situation or your career, you have to stay focused. And when you lose focus, that's when bad shit can happen to you, or that's when things can go terribly, terribly wrong. So just stay focused, guys.
And like I really get. So I was talking to one of my friends recently, and she's like, wow, like you're so incredibly conscious, and I really appreciate that. I think that one of the moves that me and Zach have continued to make is try to be conscious in a lot of the situations we're in. It's very hard to stay conscious at every moment in time, but just having that focus, exactly what Zach said, literally puts you in a place where you can just understand a lot more. I met this girl named Kate recently from my friends, and she said this: the more you are intrigued or want to learn about life, the better life you'll have. And the more consciously aware of that you are, the more likely you're going to continue to have a better life.
Well, and I think ultimately, Nick, we talk about, basing our decisions and basing our life on ethics and not laws and not all this stuff. So what are your values that you hold dear to yourself? Like the core of Nicholas's being, the core of Zachary's being, what are those core beliefs? What do you hold? What do you hold true to yourself?
Ooh.
Is it God? Is it family? Is it your mental health? Is it self-growth? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? There's two very big ends of the spectrum, and you can be in a lot of different states of being, man, but it's like to really hold yourself true and accountable to yourself, to that core being, to becoming a self-actualized individual. You've got to sometimes address the negative stuff.
Exactly. And so like, I mean, I've continued to address my problems, and there's some things that are more sensitive topics that are harder to talk about in certain situations or in live conversations. But at the end of the day, like addressing them with friends or things like that, like definitely puts you in a place to understand where you're at better. And Zach was talking about these core values that you have. And I asked him this question the other day. And I'm gonna let you know my answer is like, what do you want written on your gravestone? We're all gonna fucking die. Like it's happening. It's not, you're not gonna live forever. Like we're impermanent beings in a fucking drop of sand in the universe. What do you want to what do you want to be represented as you died? And like I want one phrase. I want he lived his life lovingly. That's it.
Mhm. You know, and my thing is like legacy. I just recently watched the movie Troy. And for you guys that have not watched Troy, I really recommend it. It's got Brad Pitt in it. It's a great movie. But this young boy, he's late to the war, and this young boy is sent back to come and get him. And he's getting up on his horse, and he said, "Aren't you afraid to go and fight this guy?" He said, "And that, my friend, is why they won't remember your name." And when you think about that, when you think about the legacy that you're going to leave for your children, for their children's children, and on down the line, what do you want your name to mean? What do you want your life to read for people? Do you want to give back? Do you want to help people become the best possible people they want to be? Or, you know, it's whatever you want. And that's the whole blessing of having free will, the whole blessing of being able to live this life that we live is because you get to choose. You know, at some point there is divine intervention meets internal instruction. But Nick, I got a question for you,
Okay.
man. Why do you think why do you think we tolerate detrimental attributes in ourselves?
Ooh, I talked about this. I got to sit up for this. I talked about this recently. I think that it's all about confronting your truth. I think that a lot of detrimental attributes of yourself are never really addressed, and because you don't want to label yourself as something that you don't like, and that because it's scary. Like, I don't want to be a procrastinator. I don't want to be someone that lies. I don't want to be someone that isn't trustworthy. I don't want to be someone that doesn't work as hard as he know he could, or achieves the things that I know that I can, or lets people down. And there are moments when you ultimately do that, and
You do.
and you sit there and you're like, your whole idea is, I think that I don't know who I was talking to about this, but recently is like, maybe my buddy Kalen. We were talking about there's not always a problem to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's something that you just need to realize, because you address a situation, you take action in a situation, and it has effects. It's cause and effect always. And when you cause something to happen and you don't like the end effect of what ends up happening out of that, you try to make it better. But sometimes it doesn't need to be made better. You just need to move on and do better.
Yes, exactly. Don't let the weight of the world shackle you down, man. I think it was, what was it, Nick? Controlling your anchor. We talked about that.
Control your anchor, Zachary.
Control your anchor, Nicholas. Control your anchor. But it's like, you know, we make a mistake, and then it's like a chain gets put down, and it gets shackled to the earth, you know, and it brings us down. And we make another mistake, and we let it shackle us. We got to break those chains, man. You got to break that and realize that if there's something that you took away from that situation, you've learned a lesson from that. That is not failing anymore. It's not making a mistake anymore. Like, you learned something from it. Be grateful for that lesson. Be grateful for the things that God's putting into your life, because ultimately people aren't viewing it that way. People aren't viewing life as a path or a lesson that they can learn or something that they can achieve. I think what's so amazing, dude, and really me and Nick's been talking about, you know, being self-actualized and being a being that's more instinctual and that's going off our own feelings and our own emotion, is that when you can sit back and observe those thoughts and those feelings that are coming, and you address why they're coming into your life and why you're feeling this way. It gives you clues, man. It gives you clues into the inside of your own soul, your own core of your being. And if you can sit there and deal with the bad shit, you're gonna find power in yourself that you didn't know existed.
And that all comes straight from exactly what I said earlier, is being utterly truthful with yourself. And like there's many ways to do this. And honestly, I think that it'd be very good for me to end up going to therapy one day. And just, I mean, having a third party to talk to that has nothing to do with me, but whether it be talking to friends, meditation, journaling, poetry, whatever may be your muse, you have to be able to utterly be truthful to the actions you take and the effects that come from them. And that's the only way you're going to move forward and understand anything, because we are beings that live in the present moment, and we live in space-time, which means that we literally, like, everything else is relative and just made up in our minds. Basically, the only thing that's really happening at the moment right now is everything that's happening in the moment. And by not paying that its due, you end up with a lot of harboring thoughts, that can cause anxiety and depression. And
and sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I want you guys to understand too that, let's say something happened in your childhood, and you never dealt with it, or something happened in a relationship and you never dealt with it. That pain and that anger and that hurt, that is stored. You see people that have issues, some back pains in the legs, neuropathy, stuff like that. Like, these things are these emotions. This is energy, and energy is not created in order to store it. It is stored in your body unless you deal with it. And you can look up all the science and all this stuff, and you'll see. But you've got to accept the brutal truth of things. You've got to surrender, and you've got to learn control within yourself.
Zach,
but I think a lot of that.
Have you ever had an anxiety attack or a panic attack?
Yes.
That shit's actually painful.
Scary.
It's scary. You feel
dude.
your body hurts. You start to shake. Your muscles tense. Like, it is true pain.
So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I'll give you an example, because I had a really, really bad one about, and I can remember this. I can remember this very vaguely. And so I just I lost both my grandparents same year. My cousin and my brother both were. My cousin got shot and was overdosing, battling drugs. My brother, same way. Most of my family was getting to the point where it was just like we were gravitating to a point of no return, and I could see them doing that, and it was breaking my heart that I couldn't do anything about it. But I was so far away from them that I had no ability to do anything at all. I had just lost my job. I just got out of a relationship I'd been in for a long time. Like, I had rent due. I had all this stuff that was weighing down on me, man, and I was freaking the fuck out. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, I even at one point, was like, dude, this is it. I'm done. Like, I don't want to be here anymore, And I remember my first husky that I had, Kaya, she had just died, dude. She had just died maybe like 2 days ago. And this is after my grandparents had died like a week, or my grandma had died like a week earlier, and we had just buried her and all this shit, man. And I was like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, because I had turned my back away from God for so long. And I was like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, I need to let this go. I need to let all this go, man. And I remember shaking. I remember, curled up in a fetal position in my bed, fucking bawling my eyes out for 5 to 10 straight minutes. And then I got to a point, man, and this is why I wanted to tell y'all this story. It's not for you to feel sorry for me. I said, I don't know what's going to happen anymore. I don't know where I'm going to go, but God, I completely surrender to you. And in that moment, man, I felt this warmth, these arms wrap around me, and that internal dialogue, that God, he told me it was going to be okay, son. I have you. I got you. And the minute that I went back to that source of being, and this is, I want to try to live my life in this way and help others figure this out too. All that went away. All that hate, all that anger, all that, disgustingness, all that depression, all that shame that I felt for the things that I've done in my life, it all went away. And I want you to understand something about, your emotions and your feelings, that they're there for you to feel. They're there for you to realize that, hey, that you're not perfect, but there's power inside that you can find as long as you're willing to go and be uncomfortable and look for it. And just let you guys know, if you ever need anyone to talk to, if you ever feeling like that, where you don't have anyone, this is what the Doors is about. It's not just about finding success and becoming the best us we can be. It's about breaking down these negative vibes, breaking down these negative attributes inside, and finding the power that's inside us all, because we all have that spark, and it's there and it's powerful. And I promise that when you begin to let it in, you're going to be able to do things that you never thought imaginable.
Exactly. And what's wild about some of these situations that we continue to go through as just individuals in our own lives is we're gonna go through some really rough shit. Like life is chaos, and then there's love, and then you just try to do your best, and then you die. And harboring those emotions that you feel through those traumatic events, because we all go through things that do affect us on the daily, on the weekly, on the year, through our life. I'm gonna give you one really big tip of advice, is that when you feel something, let yourself, like, I don't care what, as a male in a, like, I know females and I know women feel, they let their emotions actually feel a little bit more than guys do. And it might be a social stigma. It might be, you might not want to do it because you don't want to see people cry or feel those emotions. But as a human being, the most important thing you can do is give yourself the time and space to allow yourself to feel those emotions. Because it's either you're going to feel it now or you're going to harbor it, and you're going to feel it later when it's compounded. We live in a society today where, imagine you can go buy a loan, right? And this is some, I don't know if you know financial shit, but when you go buy a loan, you're not buying the money, you're buying the interest on the money to get that. So you're buying the interest and the money. So basically, if you're going to get $5,000 at a 6% interest rate a year, which is ridiculous, you're paying for how many ever years it takes you to pay off that, plus the $5,000. And it's the exact same way with your emotions, is that you're going to let these emotions build up and build up and build up. Now they tie into new situations because you felt some sort of way, because you felt down about this situation. Now you're adding it onto this and adding it onto this and adding it onto this. And it's never just one little situation that builds you up and does these things. It's the accumulation of it. So let yourself, it's just like we've talked about in the past, you got to celebrate the little victories. You got to feel, you let yourself feel the little moments.
Yeah, and let yourself feel something, and I'll be honest with you guys, like, I was a big marijuana smoker for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with it. I love the health benefits that are wrong, but it was like I was using it to numb myself, to hide those emotions away, to where I didn't have to feel them as much. And when you get on that other side where it's like, okay, like, I know that this is hurting me. Like, I know that this shit's gonna eventually break me down if I don't deal with it. That's when you need to just sit down with yourself and really look deep into why you're feeling these things, and to, actually, what can I take away from this? Like, I get it, we fucked up, like, all this stuff happened, and there's all this turmoil, but what's the happiness you can take away? What's the life lesson you can take away? How are you going to grow? How are you going to change? How are you going to become the person you're supposed to be after this? Don't let it shackle you down.
How are you going to live up? How are you going to live up to that phrase in your gravestone?
Exactly. What legacy do you want to leave for your children and their children and their children's children? And you begin to ask yourself these questions, man. You begin to ask yourself the right questions, and the doors start to open. And then once the doors open, man, they keep opening. And it's one of the things that me and Nick talked about. You know, we've been on this journey and on this path of time that we call life, and we barely just scratched the surface. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful world, but it's how you see it and how you view it. If you view your life as shitty and the perspective on life is, well, this is it, this is all I'm going to be able to do, like I'm going to be poor the rest of my life, like I'm going to be an arrogant asshole, I'm not going to be able to move forward, like I have no friends. All that stuff that you're saying to yourself, that's going to come back on you, I promise you. But if you can switch it up, if when you're starting to feel that way, you can, instead of going and beating yourself down, like give yourself some confidence, give yourself some words of encouragement,
or give yourself some slack.
Yeah, give yourself some slack, and have that internal mantra, like I said, mine is, even this too shall pass, I'm strong enough to overcome this obstacle. Even this too shall pass, I'm strong enough to overcome this obstacle. You will overcome it, and you will become stronger because of it. And the next time that you are given that lesson, you're going to pass with flying colors.
Well, I'm going to ask you this too. Who's your biggest critic?
Yourself. It always is.
Mm-hmm. So in like a lot of your, like, again, like we were telling, one of the hardest things to do is face the truth about yourself. What if your subconscious just lies to you? Or it was this. I was watching, one of the best representations of my spirituality is the episode Futurama where Bender meets God. I know it sounds really funny, but it's beautiful. But when Bender's talking to him, he's like, I was doing, he's like, you did so good until you died. He's like, yeah, I just don't know whether right's or wrong or what to do. And he's like, and God talks back to him and goes, right and wrong are just are made up. What's important is what you do. And that's so important to realize and keep that in your head, because you may think something's right or wrong and you're combating it in your head and you don't know what to do. But the truth is, how are you going to execute on the action? Or what do you truly believe? Because you're your biggest critic, and you're going to continue to criticize yourself and your actions as you go through life, no matter what.
Yeah. And there's a saying, man, that we can really create heaven on earth. And I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I'll leave it to Nick to finish this up. But the first lesson that I learned when I started martial arts, there was a kata. It was called Zhangji, and it means heaven and earth. And I began to study, like, what does that actually mean? And me and Nick sit down all the time, and we do breath work, and we do these meditations, and it's really to become more familiar with the world around us and become more familiar with ourselves. But this is something I wrote down about heaven and earth, and I want to share it with you. And if this does anything for anyone, like, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that you're hearing this message, and I really hope that you begin to see the light, because it's there, and it's usually the darkest right before the light comes out. So I titled this Heaven and Earth, and I said, if weakness in your intelligence is your issue, then study, read, and always be prepared. If physical strength is lacking, train every day to keep the river of life constantly flowing through you. Never give up, never back down, and never quit. When both of these come together, then your body can be in complete unison or synchronicity. Allow the river to flow from mind to heart. Allow this to activate you and flow like a river. Keep flowing and allow constant progression and moving forward until you reach the destination of the ocean of life and the abundance that we call our highest self. Heaven and earth.
That's great. Wow. Well, look, y'all, it's really amazing to see the continued progress that Zach and I have made by just talking about this and being self-aware and having people to talk about these situations, because you are what you think about. And I know you guys can do the same thing. And being self-actualized or being self-aware or conscious of the moves and things you're doing is one of the most important aspects to growing to the persons you want to be. So start your journey now, or don't stop, you know. We're the believing. Hold on to that feeling. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. But anyways, y'all, we're the developers of our own opportunities, reinventing success. And y'all, it's time to reinvent yourselves and your ideas of what really it means to be successful in your eyes or your life or the things that you want to do. And it's time to open those doors today. Thank you. I am your co-host, Nicholas Sternloff.
I am Zachary Otts.
And y'all, let's continue to open up some doors today. Thank you very much. And we'll see you guys next time.